The stage was set for what was meant to be a light-hearted, entertaining evening as Prince Harry joined Graham Norton on his famed red couch. The episode had been hyped for days across social media and mainstream outlets, promising candid insights and fun anecdotes from the Duke of Sussex. Prince Harry appeared relaxed at first, dressed casually, smiling as the audience erupted in applause. Graham welcomed him warmly, noting that it had been a while since Harry had done a talk show of this magnitude. First few minutes went smoothly, jokes about royal life, cheeky stories from Harry's army days, and a few remarks about life in California with Meghan. But as the conversation delved deeper into sensitive territories, Graham's tone subtly shifted. Known for his ability to press uncomfortable topics with a grin, he transitioned into more controversial subjects, referencing the ongoing tension between Harry and the royal family. That's when the air in the studio began to shift from cheerful to tense. So Harry Graham began with a raised eyebrow and a signature smirk. "You've always been the rebel royal, but some would say leaving the family and moving to the States took that to a whole new level. Was that your decision alone, or were you following Meghan's lead?" The question was met with a mix of chuckles and gasps from the audience. Harry's smile tightened. "It was a decision we made together. As a husband and a father, I did what I thought was best for my family." Graham nodded slowly. "Fair enough. But many in Britain feel abandoned. They say you turned your back on duty, on the people who adored you." Harry's expression turned serious. "I didn't abandon anyone. I removed myself from a toxic environment. There's a big difference." Graham pressed further, citing headlines and public opinion polls. "But couldn't that have been handled more privately?" Harry replied curtly, "Privacy was never afforded to me, only expected when convenient for others." The mood had clearly shifted. Graham's tone became slightly more confrontational as he brought up Harry's Netflix series and tell-all memoir. "Some would say you've traded one spotlight for another. You asked for privacy, then released documentaries and wrote books. Isn't that contradictory?" Harry's jaw visibly clenched. "It's not about hiding. It's about controlling. My own story. There's a big difference between being chased by the press and choosing when to speak your truth," Graham quipped. "So your truth is the only one that matters?" The audience grew uneasy, laughter replaced by murmurs. Harry responded, "No. But for years, everyone else told my story, twisted it, monetized it. Now I get to speak directly." Graham leaned in, voice low. "But don't you think going public the way you have has damaged the monarchy, your family's reputation? Even your own?" Harry shot back. "You can't damage something that's already cracked." "I exposed the truth there, just uncomfortable with it being out in the open." Things escalated when Graham, trying to lighten the mood, joked, "Well, at least your brother still has his hair, right?" Harry didn't laugh. He responded sharply, "I didn't come here to take cheap shots at my family, even if you seem intent on provoking them." Graham chuckled nervously, trying to recover. But Harry's body language had changed. Entirely crossed arms, cold stare, little movement. The audience, picking up on the shift, sat in uneasy silence. Graham attempted to shift gears, asking about the Invictus Games and Harry's ongoing charitable work. But the damage had been done. Every new question felt like a veiled jab, every response from Harry increasingly guarded. And Graham asked, "Do you ever regret airing all this out so publicly?" Harry replied, "No, I regret not doing it sooner." That line, delivered with a clenched jaw, sparked some applause, but also deepened the tension. The line between humor and hostility had now completely evaporated. As the conversation continued, Graham grew visibly frustrated with Harry's unwillingness to banter in his usual style. "You know this is an entertainment show, right?" Joked. "You're acting like we're in court," Harry fired back. "Maybe if my life hadn't been treated like a circus, I'd be more in the mood for jokes." Graham, momentarily taken aback, replied, "This isn't the BBC grilling you. It's a talk show. If you can't handle a few questions without snapping, maybe you're in the wrong chair." That was the final straw. "Yeah." Harry stood up abruptly, removing his mic pack. "You're right," he said. "Maybe I am." Studio gasped. Graham tried to call him back, half laughing. "Oh, come on, Harry. Sit down. Don't be so dramatic." But Harry wasn't having it. "I came here in good faith. I thought you wanted a conversation, not a tabloid ambush." Without another word, he turned and walked off set, leaving a stunned host and audience behind. The producers scrambled, immediately cutting to a commercial break, while Graham sat in silence, clearly rattled. When the show returned, Graham attempted to keep the mood light. "Well, that escalated quickly," he joked, but the laughter from the audience was thin. By the next morning, clips of the incident had gone viral. Headlines like "Prince Harry storms off Graham Norton's show" and "Royal meltdown on live TV" dominated every major outlet. Pundits and commentators weighed in, with some defending Harry for standing up against what they called mockery disguised as banter, while others accused him of being overly sensitive and unwilling to face tough questions. Twitter became a battlefield of opinions, memes, and hashtags like #HarryStormsOut and #NortonVSHarry. Viewers debated who was in the wrong. Was it the host who pushed too hard, or the royal who couldn't take a joke? Behind the scenes, the fallout continued. Graham Norton, known for being relatively uncontroversial, suddenly found himself at the center of a media firestorm. Some industry insiders defended him, saying he did what any good interviewer does: ask the questions people are thinking. Criticized him for being tone-deaf, arguing that he knew Harry's history and still chose to press buttons for the sake of entertainment. Meanwhile, Buckingham Palace reportedly had no comment, maintaining its usual distance from Harry's public controversies. Meghan Markle was seen leaving a building in Los Angeles later that day, and although she gave no statement, paparazzi noted she looked visibly upset. Rumors swirled that Harry regretted agreeing to do the show in the first place and had been misled about the tone of the segment. Some of his team reportedly blamed the producers for not stepping in sooner. Days later, Harry released a brief statement through his spokesperson. Prince Harry remains committed to open and honest dialogue, but he will not tolerate disrespect disguised as humor. Graham addressed the incident during the opening monologue of his next episode. "I've had many guests, but that's the first time one stormed off. I suppose I'm now officially part of royal history." The joke earned some laughter, but the wound was still fresh. Viewership soared due to the controversy, but not everyone saw it as a win. Critics questioned whether celebrity interviews had crossed a line, becoming more about confrontation than conversation. Supporters of Harry continued defending his actions, saying it was about time someone refused to be the butt of a joke just because of their name and title. The debate spiraled beyond entertainment, touching on themes of trauma, privacy, and media responsibility. Meanwhile, talk shows in both the US and UK picked up the story, analyzing the cultural divide between British banter and American sensitivity. One OS host commented, "Graham Norton's show is playful, but not everyone sees sarcasm as harmless." British media countered that Harry's sense of humor had clearly eroded. And while some viewers saw his walk-off as a display of integrity, others saw it as arrogance. Polls began circulating online, asking who was in the right. The numbers were surprisingly split, showing just how polarizing Prince Harry had become. Some networks reached out to Harry's team, offering interviews to clarify or explain what happened, but all were declined. Instead, Harry continued focusing on his charitable work, appearing at events and fundraisers, pointedly avoiding all media questions about the Norton incident. In the end, the fiery showdown between Prince Harry and Graham Norton became more than just a viral moment. It was a cultural flashpoint. It revealed the thin line between humor and harm, between asking tough questions and ambushing a guest. It reignited the conversation about public figures, the right to privacy, and the media's responsibility when handling trauma. For Graham Norton, it marked a rare misstep in a long and storied career. For Harry, it was yet another chapter in his ongoing struggle to be understood on his own terms. As the noise settled, one thing became clear. Even in a world saturated with sound bites, sometimes silence or walking away makes the loudest statement of all.